Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, June 29th. First, we do have a fuel and fire behavior advisory in effect for eastern Nevada, much of Utah, and the Arizona Strip, so please see our website for that information. Otherwise, for weather this week, winds decrease significantly in Nevada and Utah today from what we have been seeing, along with cooler temperatures. However, they will increase again tomorrow over eastern Utah and generally be breezy this week across the southern half of the Great Basin. Otherwise, showers in the north will continue off and on through this week, keeping fire potential lower. However, temperatures will gradually be warming across the Great Basin later this week. For fuels, despite a brief drop in fire danger in the south, fire danger is still high with ERCs above the 90th to 97th percentile. So again, not much change in the south despite the brief drop in fire danger. Otherwise, significant moistening in northern areas will continue through this week. So a quick look at our Great Basin Fuel and Fire Behavior Advisory. You can see the area here indicated on the left, and you can access this document from our Great Basin website. Otherwise, fire potential impacts today, no significant impacts. We will continue with showers in the north, along with some pretty gusty winds in Idaho and Wyoming. However, relative humidity will be very high with those showers. Winds will be significantly lighter across much of Utah and Nevada from what we've been seeing, but we'll start to pick back up again with southwest winds over eastern Utah on Tuesday. So that's definitely something to pay attention to, obviously, with our current fire activity. Otherwise, some isolated showers and thunderstorms Tuesday and Wednesday in the north, and these could dip down into northern Nevada and northern Utah tomorrow, along with a few isolated storms potentially today along the Sierra. However, all storms would be isolated. Otherwise, starting Wednesday through the rest of the week, we'll have off and on breezy winds over the southern half of the region, and this will impact our ongoing incidents across the Great Basin. Quick look at the National Weather Service alerts. We do still have some red flag warnings over eastern areas and then a mix of winter weather products over the north with that cold front. Precipitation over the last 24 hours, just some isolated thunderstorms over northeast Nevada into southern Idaho with very light precipitation. Otherwise, showers continue to the north. Over the last 7 days, this moisture that we have seen with the cold front, it was a very strong cold front for this time of year, something we would normally see earlier in the spring, and it did bring well above normal precipitation to northern Nevada and parts of southwest and central Idaho into Wyoming. Any precipitation to the south, even though it does show as above normal, was very spotty with any thunderstorms because June is one of our driest months. Currently, our Great Basin fire activity, you can see a lot of large and team fires across the area indicated on our map with just light new initial attack for 9 new fires yesterday for over 38 acres. But we continue to have significant growth on our large fires at over 25,000 acres, most of which was on the Babylon fire. We did increase to PL4 at Nick, and Great Basin remains at a PL4. Quick look at our morning satellite. You can see over into southeast Utah, the Babylon fire was still very active last night into this morning. Otherwise, definitely less fire activity on our other large fires. But with plenty of clear skies, we will see that fire activity pick up again, although definitely a nice break from the winds today across the region with some cooler temperatures. Otherwise, up north, you can see obviously where all the moisture is, which will continue with those showers. This afternoon, any smoke would be confined to our large incidents, depending on how active they are. And looking at our current fire danger conditions, ERCs obviously took a significant drop in the north, but even over parts of eastern Idaho and western Wyoming, where precipitation was less than areas to the west, those ERCs will rebound fairly rapidly and by the end of the 7-day period reach above normal. Down in the south, despite that drop in fire danger closer to normal briefly with the cooler temperatures, we will see ERCs increase rapidly again to above the 97th percentile potentially in some areas. Looking at our weather the next few days, we have a persistent area of low pressure, which will gradually track east across the region, but again, keep weather unsettled. Temperatures, although they'll be well below normal today, will be increasing. Looking at our significant fire potential outlook, we have no high risk today with that drop in winds and the cooler temperatures, but still remaining in the moderate risk of fire in the southern areas. And then as we get into Tuesday, we will see a return of high risk for winds in southeast Utah. And then from Wednesday onward, we will see high risk triggers for burn environment because winds will be breezy, although they won't be as strong and may not trigger red flag warnings in some areas. But with our current fuel conditions, very dry conditions continuing, and any breezy southerly winds will allow fire behavior to continue to increase. So you will see that burn environment high risk. Looking at the details, winds today will be gusty across the north, again accompanied by much higher humidity, but still something to pay attention to since we do have that Kinky Creek fire. Otherwise, in the south, winds taper off, but you can start to see picking up on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, a generally breezy with more gusts in the 20 to 25 mile per hour range. This will be accompanied by single digit to low teen humidity across much of the southern half of the Great Basin. As far as precipitation, aside from showers in the north continuing, we may see some isolated storms in the Sierra today and then a little bit more widespread on Tuesday, but still very isolated, very minimal precipitation. So we could see a pickup in initial attack from any of these lightning strikes. Otherwise, temperatures well below normal today, gradual warming as we get through midweek. Looking at Thursday through Saturday, still low pressure starts to move across the north. So again, keeping conditions moderated in the north, but we will see generally drier and warmer temperatures, especially as we go through Friday and Saturday. Breezy winds will continue Thursday and Friday, so that burn environment high risk is still in effect, especially where we have our large incidents in the south, both Thursday and Friday, and then we may see winds decrease going through the holiday weekend, although still very dry and warmer conditions. You can see this on the wind map here. Again, breezy Thursday, Friday, most of those gusts in the 20s, but accompanied by single digit relative humidity and poor recoveries. So still a concern for our large incidents. And then a much lighter wind Saturday, but very dry conditions and temperatures will be on the increase. You can see that with temperatures increase closer to normal as we get towards Friday and a little bit above normal for the weekend. Otherwise, no precipitation expected later this week into the weekend. Looking at a quick recap of our 7-day significant fire potential outlook, you can see again today no high risk with a brief reprieve from some lighter winds and cooler temperatures. However, winds pick up in southeast Utah Tuesday, and then generally breezy winds Wednesday through Friday with burn environment high risk across much of southern areas where we see our current large incidents. Otherwise, no high risk for Saturday and Sunday. However, with the holiday and an increase in outdoor activities with very dry conditions, warming temperatures, and the condition of our fuels, definitely something to pay attention to for the weekend. 6 to 10 day outlook taking us from July 4th through the 8th shows still warmer and drier conditions. Right now, no signs of the monsoon for our area, at least through the early part of next week. It does look like possibly by mid-July we might start seeing some moisture move north, but that's quite a ways off. End of report. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.